Alderman Arnowitz.
Present.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Present.
Alderman Coder.
Here.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd. Chairman Kennedy.
Here.
President Reed. You have 6 present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Today we have one agenda item, and that is a discussion with the mayor's recommendation for the Civilian Oversight Board. There is a vacancy in District 6. District 6 is composed of the 14th, the 15th, the 20th, and the 25th wards. We have an individual that the mayor is recommending, Mr. Daniel Blocker, who is from the 14th ward, who is here today. We'd ask him first to come forward and have a seat. We welcome you here and thank you for being interested in serving on the board.
Thank you.
You must love punishment. But we would like for you just to talk a little bit about yourself, give us some background, and then even how you found out about the Civilian Oversight Board and your interest in serving on it. If you need to pull the microphone closer, feel free to do so.
Sure. Let me know if you can't hear me all right. So, good morning. Thank you again for having me in front of the committee. As the Chairman Kennedy said, my name is Daniel Blocker. I live at 5308 Nottingham Avenue. That is in the 14th ward, Alderwoman Howard's ward. A little bit about me. I have lived in the city for the last 8.5 years. Those last 4.5 have been in the 14th ward. I moved to St. Louis, not originally a native, moved to St. Louis for my job, and I've met my wife, and she is from St. Louis, which I think makes me a St. Louisan now. So, like I said, last 8.5 years, I moved to the city for my job, which is at U.S. Bank Community Development Corporation. So I do tax credit equity investments in low-income and underserved communities. And I think the other relevant experience that I wanted to point out that is also on the application that I submitted was my board service for Bridge Investments. That is a CDFI, certified financial institution, which provides financial programs and services in underserved communities. And then also, I think I listed on the application that I had served in various elections over the last 3 years for the Board of Elections as a special roving deputy, which just meant I went around on election day to the different polling places, sorted out any issues, answered calls back at the Board of Election, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay. How did you find out about the Civilian Oversight Board, and then why are you interested?
Absolutely. So I found out about the opening through Alderwoman Howard, and there was a vacancy, and it seemed like something that, through my experience and background, I thought would be a good fit. I would like to be able to bring an open and impartial outlook to the board. I really am interested in being involved in my community. That's the main reason why I applied for the position. So.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll open it up for questions from members of the committee.
Absolutely.
Alderman Boyd.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
I was reviewing your file. Are you familiar with Tom Oldenburg?
Yes, Tom is a colleague of mine.
And there's a letter of concern. Would you believe that he submitted a letter of concern about you being appointed?
I would find that hard to believe.
Okay, no further questions.
Is that
Thank you.
That kind of morning, okay. Alderman Cone, any questions?
I don't have any questions at this time, thank you.
Okay. Alderman Arnowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you for taking the time out and come down and express your interest. Sounds to me like you very well have this at your heart and being very fair and impartial and keep an open mind. I guess that's all we can ask for and hope to ask for. Other than that, I don't have any other further questions or remarks.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
No questions.
Alderman Kotor.
No questions. Thanks for your service.
Okay. We'll go on down to Alderman Muhammad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, you're originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
I'm actually originally from Minneapolis. I started with the bank in Milwaukee, and that's my link to coming to St. Louis.
And how long ago was that?
8.5 years.
What were the community and police relations like in Minneapolis?
In Minneapolis, I lived there from 1982 to 2001. I didn't have any concerns or issues that I knew of at that time. I lived there 1 through 18, so.
Do you have concerns and issues with the community and police relations here in St. Louis?
I think we definitely have a lot to work on, and I think that the Civilian Oversight Board is a good opportunity to do some of that.
What do you want to work on exactly? Like, what is your objective as a member of this board?
So I think as a board, we aren't proactively looking for things. I think we're just assessing what comes to us via complaints, and that's my understanding. If there's something else I've missed, I don't know. But so I don't have an agenda per se to bring to the board.
But you are willing to look at all alternatives and strategies in improving police and community relations?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and you've been in St. Louis for 8 years?
8.5, yeah.
Awesome. Did you vote for local control when it was on the ballot in 2012?
I did. And I don't know if there's,
That's fine.
yeah.
It was just a question.
Okay.
I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
Do you think that the city of St. Louis having oversight of its police force is a good thing, or do you think it's better under state control?
No, I think it's a good first step, and to give citizens the accountability and to feel that they have a second voice that is appointed in this situation. But if you didn't feel that the police had your best interests at heart, you've got your community members looking as a second set of eyes.
Awesome. And I know that as a member of the COB, the main responsibility is to look at grievances against officers and police-involved shootings. But I also think that members of the board should serve as liaisons between their communities, individually by district, and also the city of St. Louis in its totality. In any conversations you have, would you support the move to a lot more officers to neighborhoods that experience the highest crime?
I think off the cuff, thinking about that, that makes sense, but I don't know if that's necessarily my call. I'm not
Just asking if you would
policing, but yeah,
support.
no, I think I would. I absolutely. If there was a neighborhood that was experiencing additional issues and the local law enforcement, the chief of police thought that was the strategy to take, sure. I would leave that up to them. But yeah, I think it makes sense. That's a logical, reasonable.
Okay. Thank you. I like your tie, by the way.
Oh, thank
I
you.
have no further questions. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Alderwoman Boyd, any questions?
Actually, I do have questions.
Can we get the last?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Alderwoman Spencer, did you have any questions? Okay. Alderman Cohen?
So thank you for being here today and for being willing to volunteer, your service to the city of St. Louis. It's very much appreciated. I am one of the 4 aldermen that this district, takes into, representation. And so you have the 14th ward, the 15th ward, the 20th ward, and the 25th ward that are all part of this district. And I'm just curious, what has been your level? I know you've been a resident of the city of St. Louis for 8 years now, but what has been your level of engagement with the community over the past 8 years? Have you attended, I know you're part of the 14th ward, have you been involved with the, Bevo neighborhood at all, or any of the organizations, in the 14th ward?
Sure. So not specifically the Bevo, but yeah, the St. Louis, the Southampton Neighborhood Association, which Carol and well, I should say that encompasses the 14th and 16th ward. So Alderwoman Howard and Alderman Oldberg attend those meetings. Yeah.
So are you a regular participant, attendee in those meetings?
I am, in fact, the meeting's just held about 6 houses down from mine, so it makes it very convenient.
As a representative on this board, would you feel it incumbent upon yourself to also attend other neighborhood meetings throughout the district to, kind of build a better sense of what the community that you'd be representing looks like and, the issues that they're discussing?
Absolutely. I think that's a good point that you brought up, and probably that's something I need to look into and finding out the different neighborhood association meetings and when they are. So,
Okay.
absolutely.
And part of the reason I say that is, this district, is also one of the most diverse and integrated districts in the, entire region. We have one of the largest immigrant communities in the entire region as well. They face a whole other level of difficulty with, community policing, and, issues that may arise from, not speaking English or having, different living circumstances and things of that nature. So it would be my expectation that anyone that serves, representing the 25th Ward in particular, would try and build a greater awareness of that as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair, and that's a good comment.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we do have...
Real quick, not particularly for him, but do we have like a tally or a list of the number of cases that have actually been sent to the Civilian Oversight Board since its inception?
Yeah, they did produce an annual report that has that information in it.
Okay.
That was it came out some months ago. I did send out a notice about it.
Okay.
And so we'll be sure to get you that annual report if you do.
Okay, thank you. No further.
Well, he left. I was going to ask Alderman Bosley if he had any questions. Alderwoman Howard, did you have any comments? Have you had any that you might consider to be negative encounters with the St. Louis Police Department?
So I have not, and one of the questions on the application was to that effect. The only thing I could really recall as far as involvement with the police outside of a neighborhood association meeting was really my time on election days at the Board of Elections where the police officers are escorting you to and from polling places. So that was really the interaction I had.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen any that you might consider to be negative?
Fortunately, no.
Alderman Bosley, did you have any questions for? Okay. All right. Then if it's no other, Alderman Cohen.
I actually have a question of the chair, if he may indulge me. So I know that as part of the orientation, if you will, that the people who are sworn in to serve on the Civilian Oversight Board are also required to go through, I believe it's the Citizens Training Academy. Do we similarly have a requirement that they have to go through some sort of like racial equity training as well? Or
it wasn't in the bill,
okay,
from my remembrance, but so no, directly it's not in the
no,
bill.
okay,
I think that the director, though, thinks in that direction,
okay,
and that'll be something implemented. But we're talking about citywide implementing something very short.
right.
So.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
There's no other questions from members of the committee or comments. We could entertain a motion. Somebody like to-
I move that we confirm the mayor's appointment to the Civilian Oversight Board, Mr. Blocker.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we confirm the mayor's appointment, Mr. Daniel Blocker, to the Civilian Oversight Board. Is there any, first of all, is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Baccarum, Alderman Cohn,
Aye.
Alderman Arnowitz, Alderwoman Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Cotter,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Muhammad,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Kennedy,
Aye.
President Reed. 9 aye votes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. By your vote, you sustained the motion. We've confirmed you. We'll send that to the full board at this point. And we'd like to thank you for taking your time to come out today and showing your interest in the Civilian Oversight Board.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That completes our meeting today. There's no other items on the agenda. With that, our meeting's adjourned.